Hello everyone and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. The failure on the part of so many leaders in the church today to clearly enunciate and keep preaching the truths regarding the church's teaching on sexual morality is having disastrous results. Ever since the advent of the pill in the 1960s, the church should have been preaching loud and strong. Instead, what we have is soft and weak, and that's on a good day. Yes, the official teaching of the church is there for all people to see, that sex is a great and powerful gift from God meant to be used within the context of marriage for procreation and must always be open to the possibility of new life. As such, it creates and deepens a spiritual union between the spouses expressed physically. Yes, that teaching is there for all to see. The problem is that it isn't actually taught with any degree of consistency or regularity by those charged with teaching it. Oftentimes, it's avoided altogether. Other times, it's actually contradicted. I was talking with a young fellow who teaches CCD confirmation kids last week. When the section on sexual morality came up, he was discouraged by the parish DRE, Director of Religious Education, from teaching it. The parents get too upset, he was told. They call the chancery. The chancery gets upset. They call us. He stood his ground with the pastor and the DRE and said if he isn't allowed to teach what the church teaches, he's quitting. The case is currently under review. In another case, a couple I was speaking with were told by their pastor, contraception is okay if you have prayed about it, reflected on it, and decided that it's okay for you. This last example and I suspect all of you, have heard multiplied hundreds of times. In the Vatican, the teaching is clear enough, but on the ground at the parish level, it is practically mocked. It's almost certainly ignored by and large. Oh, sure, some lip service might be paid to the more career-minded clerics who want to cover themselves, but where the rubber hits the road, the essentials are simply dismissed. So, what do you have as a result? Well, shall we count the ways? A Catholic population of 50 and under who think contraception is perfectly acceptable. A Catholic population under 50 perfectly willing to give homosexuality a pass. This is most especially true of the under 35 Catholics. A Catholic population under 50 who barely bat an eye about cohabiting. Living in sin, it used to be called. A Catholic population under 50 that thinks the worst thing about premarital sex is that it might make relationships, well, complicated. Of course, a misuse of sexual powers inevitably leads to an increase in abortion among Catholics. So what we have at the end of the day, with the lack of actually teaching the teaching, is a Catholic population that looks and behaves like the whole rest of the population. Contraception leads to abortion, broken homes, failed marriages, fatherless children, a massive falling away from the faith, and eventually hell on earth, and not to mention, quite likely, hell in the next life. If you don't believe me, read again what Pope Paul VI said would happen to society if contraception became the accepted norm. If you're a wimpy cleric or religious afraid of preaching the truth, you might want to read it for the first time. We put a link right over here. It's called Humanae Vitae, and it is the church's teaching after all. It's time for Catholic leaders to start leading, or better said, it's time for Catholic leaders, and that means bishops, priests, nuns, DREs, teachers, anyone who passes on the faith that comes to us from the apostles, to start leading souls to Christ. For those who do, your reward will be great in heaven. For those who do not, start. God bless you. I'm Michael Voris.
Please help us keep delivering these kinds of messages that so desperately need to be heard and acted on. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber. Become immersed in the faith established by Jesus Christ. The Catholic Church is the only hope against evil because that is its God-given mission. As our Lord said, apart from me, you can do nothing. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber and come to learn and love Christ more deeply.